The Flames stayed quiet, but have their first rounder. Samuel Honzek, you are a Calgary Flame.
You're Locked On Flames, your daily podcast on the Calgary Flames. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome to today's episode of Locked On Flames. As always, I'm your host, Jess Belmosto, and today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Round one of the draft has wrapped up by the time you're watching this, and we do have some unpacking to do because the Flames did have a first-round pick. They didn't trade Noah Hanifin or Elias Lindholm. So what are we doing here? What's the plan for the rest of the weekend? But before we dive into that, please make sure you are subscribed to Locked On Flames wherever you get your podcasts, and of course on YouTube as well. We're here for you every single day, Monday through Friday, your team every day. So Samuel Honzek, I did not have him on in my mock draft. I had Matthew Wood from UConn, who went the pick ahead to Nashville, and that's the second year in a row I have missed a pick. So next year, Nick can pick. But in all seriousness, this is exciting for the Flames. Samuel Honzek is an 18-year-old winger out of the WHL. He has size, he has skill, and talent on his side. He is 6'3" and 180 pounds. So he has some bulking up to do, but he still has a nice shot. He loves playmaking, which I think is so important for the Flames to, they do have a hole to fill with the absence of Johnny Gaudreau and his playmaking ability. So to kind of eventually get something back would be very neat to, have someone with a high hockey IQ driving the plays again. I think that it's exciting to have another young forward in their system that has a strong two-way game, by the way. I was talking with the Locked On Prospects, NHL Prospects guy, Hattie, and he had a lot of praise for Honzek just because he's big, but he does have a strong two-way game. He loves commanding and drawing up plays, but one thing that he wants to see is Honzek kind of get used to the way that hockey's played in North America and, driving across the middle of the ice and kind of going from there, because they're 18 years old, right? Like to me, that is a child that just, or an adult that just graduated from high school. They are fresh. They are fresh. They are still able to be molded, but a lot of his development has been done already. And we're going to eventually see him in the NHL. I think that 2 years, like Hattie said, 2 years is a solid timeline, I guess, if he does stay with the Flames and makes the jump. Or I guess I should say the Calgary Flames really need to build up that prospect pool, right? Not only are you looking to, obviously build your future in your AHL team, but you also trade these guys. They're kind of just sometimes just trade pieces, as awful as that sounds. So, you want to get the most out of these guys, and I think that if he spends 2 years in the AHL and WHL, he's going to have success. I think that it could be something for the Flames. I feel like it's so hard to write anything off right now. The Flames have a lot of work to do, so it's a lot more fun to look forward than kind of dwell on the quote unquote better players that were left on the board when the Flames picked. But I feel like you have to find something to be excited about. And if that is a first round draft pick, it's a first round draft pick. Sometimes I feel like people look at hockey and like they want to manipulate how things work. And I get it. I would love to be a general manager too and have all my favorite people on my team and everyone else stink. But, it's okay to take a deep breath and enjoy it. It's okay. I promise things are going to probably be bad for the Flames, but not so bad that they're unwatchable. I shouldn't say that because that could come back to bite me. But coming up next, we are going to talk about some moments from the draft that we just absolutely have to discuss. And we would be remiss if we skipped over them. But before we do that, I do want to tell you about our friends at FanDuel. Take your first swing at betting MLB on FanDuel and get 10 times your first bet amount in bonus bets. That's up to $200. That's right. Just bet $20 and you'll land $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. That's a lot. Listen, you can buy a lot of chicken wings for $200. On an app that's safe, secure, and easy to use. Plus, when you win, you get paid instantly. Or you can let it sit in the account. It's up to you. There's no better place to bet on Major League Baseball than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So all you have to do is sign up today and visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get up to $200 in bonus bets back. Again, that is FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel, the official partner of Major League Baseball. And thank you, everyone, for hanging out with me today as we wrap up the month of June here on Locked On Flames. It has been a pleasure cruising through the off season with you, and I hope you stick around because I think it's going to be a busy one for the Flames. It's almost like they have some moves that need to be done, right? But before we do kind of talk more about the underwhelming vibe of tonight, we have to talk about the high moments, okay? We need to keep going on the positive side of things before we kind of nosedive there, right? But Connor Bedard, obviously, it was great to see him go first. There is nothing I love more than seeing like parents cry when their small child is picked at the draft. I think that it is so exciting and just kind of, a reward for all those early mornings driving them to practice or how many things in the house they broke from playing hockey inside. But they were showing, obviously highlights and stuff of Bedard, and I could not get over how easy he made this look. He did it with such ease. It was effortless. It was like second nature to him. And that's when someone is good at something. Anything. It could be dance, it could be soccer, it could be baseball, sports, art, and obviously hockey. Connor McDavid does the same thing. Just so fluid and so, again, effortless. I loved it. I think that this is going to be an exciting time for Chicago, especially because they did just acquire Taylor Hall. So, I think Taylor Hall on a line with Connor Bedard, and I don't know who else is in Chicago or who they'll bring in, but I think those two could definitely be fun to watch. I don't necessarily think it's fair to put Bedard in a situation where, okay, like he's going to score 50 points or he's going to have an 80-point rookie season. And just don't do that to yourself because then people are going to call him a bust. And again, there's so many things that have to go wrong for him to be a bust. And I don't think that that's in the cards. So try again later. Leo Carlson leapfrogged to number 2 right over Fantilli. So he is an Anaheim Duck, and that is super exciting for him. I think he will fit in great there. Definitely will help out Trevor Zegras. So the more the merrier. Actually, no, because he's in the Pacific Division. Might be a problem. But in all seriousness, it's great to see these players get selected and, take that next step in their hockey career. And I love it. I love the hope that comes with the draft for fans, for players, for, obviously those in the organization. It's just an exciting time. So there's a lot that goes into making a hockey team successful, and a lot of things that go into building a player into who they are, and that is why I love Adam Fantilli's suit vest, and it was breathtaking, really. He had the names on his back of his quote unquote village, and everyone that has helped him get to this point. And I love when people show any sort of gratitude to, your parents who drove you to practices, who turned their backyard into an ice rink, who sat in the freezing cold rink and watched you get beat 12-0 because you're coming up as a kid, and taking care of you and going to the doctors, getting you checked out. And it's just a nice reminder that, these guys are human beings. And I think some people need that reminder a lot. Carey Price. Speaking of people being humans and being humans, really, Carey Price made his first public appearance for, I would say, the last year or two. It was great to see him out on the draft stage and announce the Montreal pick, but unfortunately, he did kind of flub. He forgot the player's last name, and that's okay. There are people making a big deal out of this, and I get it. You should be on for that kind of moment, but can we just remember that Carey Price was in the player assistance program, I believe, or he stepped away from hockey for a little bit. I can't remember. I believe it was the players assistance program. Has been hurt and injured, basically forced into retirement, but just riding out the rest of his contract. And he hasn't had the fine-tuning media skills that you get every day when you're at practice, you're talking to reporters, you're addressing the media, pregame, postgame, at practice. You're not getting those reps in. So have y'all ever given a public speech? Have you ever had to take a public speaking class and get up and the first 3 words out of your mouth just smooth sailing? But then as soon as you have to start thinking, your brain just turns everything to mush. I don't think it's that big of a deal. He apologized. We can move on. People make mistakes, and just give him a break. But I really, really loved that Will Smith, who was selected by the Sharks, had the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air theme song playing as his selection song. And I love even more that he is from Lexington, Massachusetts, which is not exactly near where I'm from, but it's part of Boston. Not really, but everything's part of Boston in Massachusetts, unless it's the Berkshires. But it was fun. He was fun in his interview. He talked the theme song with Emily Kaplan, and it just, these guys are so young and so fun. And I think that if I wish I had $1 for every player that said they modeled their game after Patrick Kane, because I could probably afford to take a paid day off from my day job. But no, in all seriousness, it's nice to see these guys come up. And, we'll look back in this time in 3 to 5 years and we'll laugh at the draft pictures and, oh, this guy isn't even with that team anymore. And look how far this one's come. And, oh, now this one's playing in the Stanley Cup final or something. Like, it's exciting to look forward to. And I feel like people need to start doing that more. I feel like we all get so caught up in the heat of the moment and just forget why we're rooting for these teams and these players. But Michkov did drop to the Flyers. I was shocked. He just kept going and going and going, but the Flyers snagged him. Daniel Brewer said, "We'll take you." And in his interview, he said that he expects to be in the NHL soon, or very soon, I believe he said. And then in the next interview, Daniel Brewer said, "We're fine waiting. Like, we'll wait if we have to," sort of thing, because he does have 3 years left on his KHL contract. So, I think that that's something exciting to watch. I feel like these non-traditional, quote unquote, paths to the NHL are so fun to watch. You see guys come out of schools like UMass Amherst, like Cale Makar, come out of UMass Amherst and just be an absolute force. It's exciting because there's like that underdog story. And here you have this kid that was, really expected to go in the top 4, top 5, and he didn't. And his it was off ice drama. I don't know. I don't know. Is it simply just because he's Russian and didn't want to meet with, or people like teams were having a hard time meeting with him? I don't know. But I feel like we're going to look back in a few years and see that it really wasn't that serious and that he was an 18-year-old kid. But coming up next, we have to end the show on a negative note. It's not even negative. It's just bleh. Thank you, everyone, for sticking around and hanging out with me on Locked On Flames. You can follow me on Twitter at Jess Belmosto. Tomorrow, Nick will be joining me, and we're probably, I'm not going to talk about some trades because I don't know what's going to happen. I have no faith. I shouldn't say I have no faith. I have no expectations. I feel like when you have expectations, you're just setting yourself up for disappointment. I had a very good friend tell me that when I was in high school. If you have expectations, you're bound to be disappointed. So that's why you got to kind of approach things neutrally. Like that Tyler Toffoli return, very disappointing because you expect a first in return, but you get a third, you get a third. But I truly expected there to be a trade or two tonight, especially with the Flames. I thought that Noah Hanifin would have been gone, shipped off. I don't know where. But no, it didn't happen, which was very surprising. And I feel like there was so much hype leading up to the week of the draft. Last weekend it was, Kevin Hayes and like 2 other players are going to St. Louis. Or Kevin Hayes was going to St. Louis, and then like 3 players from the Blues were going to be returning, but one of them didn't waive their no movement clause. So it just didn't work that way, and it just ended up being Kevin Hayes for a 6th. Also, I don't know if I mentioned this. Players do not have to waive their no movement clause. They should not be expected to waive their no movement clause unless this player comes to you and says, "I'm willing to waive my no movement clause for you." Do not expect it. Especially with a player that signed a long-term deal with your team and just had a baby. What are you doing? These are the things that drive me bananas because yes, this is a business. Yes, trades happen. But if you are, why are you saying this? He's going to be included in the return when he hasn't waived his no move clause. There's no way he can be in that trade. So why didn't you talk to him first? I don't know. Torrey Krug, true man of the people. Maybe he'll be a PA rep this year. I don't know. But again, the Tony DeAngelo trade also fizzled out. He was rumored to be on his way back to Carolina, and then that there was like a snag, and then it supposedly was ironed out, and then it came back. I don't know. I would say at this point it's probably not happening solely because I don't know. I feel like the Hurricanes would have sped this up a little bit because of the draft and what you might be trading for. What you never know. And I feel like you have to be so proactive. And I understand that these teams are strapped because of the salary cap. And it is so frustrating. And there was another report today that said the ball is in it's no longer in Elias Lindholm's court. It is back in the Flames court, which makes no sense to me. What are we doing? What are we doing? Is he staying? Or when are you trading him? Because time is running out. I feel like if you want to get the most return on your investment, you would have traded him before tonight. But again, I'm just a silly little girl with a podcast, and general managers are general managers. I don't want to say discouraging because I don't think I feel like that's too strong. I guess with how poor this UFA group is, literally in 3 days, technically, I expected there to be a lot more movement than just whatever this was. Can we take a break for like 1 second here? Luch going back to Boston, I will truly never be free. I have seen people do mental gymnastics and saying, well, he contributed 2 seasons ago. Baby, that was 2 seasons ago. That was a long time ago. And you need a 4th line grinder, okay, but do not expect to get anything out of that line, especially if you throw 2 young kids on it. But, everyone's just going to do their thing. And we just have to kind of accept it and take it for what it is. I'm kind of bummed out that the Flames didn't trade anyone. I fully expected them to be making moves. I thought Noah Hanifin would have been the first domino to fall ahead of Toffoli. Toffoli wanting 7 to 8 years is absurd. He's 31 years old. I love Tyler Toffoli. You know that I love the Toffolis. RIP Dodger. No, you are not getting 7 or 8 years as a 31-year-old. People are having, lighting their hypothetical cities on fire for the thought of extending a 28-year-old 8 years. And you want to talk about 31-year-old? It's ironic. I don't know. This team is, I'm glad that they're proactive. I'm glad that they want to make moves. But again, you can talk the talk, and you got to walk the walk. Ball's back in Lindy's court. They didn't trade Vladar. They're not trading for Linus Ullmark. I saw someone say that today so that the Bruins could get Lindholm. The Flames do not need another goaltender. In fact, they are trying to get Shedov one. So if y'all would like Vladar back for one of your picks, let us know. But that's all I have for tonight. I think, we just got to keep chugging along, and maybe a trade breaks in an hour or at 1 a.m. when I'm sound asleep. I don't know. Or during the day tomorrow. You never know. Because all of this is just pure chaos. But you can get your chaos recapped here on Locked On Flames. Tomorrow, Nick and I will be discussing the draft, free agency approaching, any trades, and whatever else comes across our timelines, because Lord knows Twitter is always feeding us some good stuff from the insiders. And you can make sure you are subscribed to Locked On Flames wherever you get your podcasts, as well as YouTube. Free 99 across the board. And make sure to follow me on Twitter at Jess Belmosto. Thanks for tuning into Locked On Flames, your team every day.